On the brisk morning of November 5th, 2024, Antigua and Barbuda stirred awake to a whisper of tragedy that quickly spread into anguished uproar. Before dawn's first light, 54-year-old Asot Michael, former minister and now independent member of parliament for St. Peter's, lay dead in his living room, multiple stab wounds marking a scene of shocking violence. His longtime housekeeper, arriving at the Dry Hill residence for the day's first chores, was the one to discover his body and summon the authorities in a frantic 911 call at 8:02 a.m. Paramedics pronounced him dead at 10:10 a.m. And within the hour, police cars and forensic vans created a cordon around Michael's home, transforming a quiet neighborhood into the epicenter of a national crisis.
Police in Antigua are investigating the shocking murder of independent member of parliament Asot Michael. The body of the 54-year-old former government minister was found with at least one stab wound to the chest and in a pool of blood at his home on the outskirts of the capital, St. John's, early Tuesday morning. The discovery was made by his maid. Police Commissioner Atlee Rodney told reporters that lawmen are conducting a thorough investigation to bring Michael's killer to justice.
We are going to use all the resources that we have locally, regionally, and internationally. I will be speaking to my regional partners, I'll be speaking to my international partners, and whatever resources that we need, we will use everything to address such a serious crime. It is a very heinous crime when you see that type of injury and that somebody's lying in that condition.
Asot Michael's career was woven into the very fabric of Antiguan politics. Beginning in 1995 as a special administrative assistant to then Prime Minister Lester Bird, he swiftly moved up the ranks, first to Chief of Staff, then Minister of State, and eventually to full ministerial responsibility over tourism, economic development, and energy. Admirers pointed to his $1 million scholarship program for needy students and his tireless work rebuilding schools after hurricanes. Critics recalled the bribery allegations of 2017, which he vehemently denied. A high-profile departure from the Antigua and Barbuda Labor Party in 2023 led him to defy party whips and run and win as an independent, retaining his seat amid fierce debate. By mid-morning on November 5th, a stunned Prime Minister Gaston Brown addressed the nation from Government House. "We stand united in grief," he said, voice heavy with emotion. Asot was a colleague and a friend, flawed perhaps, but always driven by a desire to serve. This act of violence is not just an attack on one man. It is an attack on our democracy and our shared sense of safety. Opposition leaders echoed his words in social media posts. Candlelight vigils sprouted across the island, and every television channel cut to rolling coverage. A state funeral was scheduled for December 18th at Holy Family Cathedral. Brass bands planned to play, and flowers would blanket the aisles as thousands gathered to pay final respects. Commissioner of Police Atlee Rodney arrived at the crime scene with an air of grim determination. In the foyer, detectives photographed every drop of blood, every smear of spatter and fingerprint, while uniformed officers secured the perimeter. Rodney himself later told reporters there was no sign of forced entry, no broken lock, no pry marks on windows, no trampled shrubbery. "We must assume the perpetrator was either granted access willingly or possessed a key," he said. "That tells us they moved in deliberate confidence, not fear of detection." The next day, the RCIPS summoned Dr. Alfredo Walker, a renowned forensic pathologist flown in from Canada. Over the course of a 5-hour autopsy, Dr. Walker confirmed what local coroners had already feared. Michael had suffered 6 deep stab wounds to the heart, each angled in precise arcs as though the assailant struck again and again with practiced force. Defensive cuts on the backs of his hands suggested a last-ditch struggle. Bruises around his jaw pointed to a blow before the fatal slashes. A blade fragment remained embedded near his ribcage, its metal edges nicked and blood-coated. official confirmation that the crime was both brutal and personal. Detective Superintendent Jasmine Brown, tasked with leading the homicide inquiry, established a multidisciplinary command post in a nearby community hall. She assembled teams from forensic science, digital forensics, and uniformed precincts, briefing each on the case's urgency. Within hours, forensic technicians had bagged and tagged the broken kitchen knife retrieved from a bin outside Michael's home, and crime scene analysts had swabbed the living room couch, coffee table, and doorknobs for DNA. Simultaneously, uniformed officers fanned out across Dry Hill, interviewing neighbors in door-to-door inquiries that stretched from dawn to dusk. Neighbors spoke of late-night voices on November 4th, heated then silent. One neighbor, a retiree named Marjorie Bishop, told Brown's team she heard something like an argument, muffled thumps, then quiet. Another, a college student returning from a 3 a.m. study session, saw a figure slip away from Michael's driveway, head bowed, arms swinging, too broad-shouldered to be Michael's usual gardener. Surveillance cameras at two adjacent homes captured passing headlights at odd hours, though image quality was too grainy for faces. Cell tower pings later triangulated a phone signal near the property at 7:15 a.m., the same time as Michael's estimated time of death. Yet without a device match, the clue remained tantalizing but incomplete. Within days, investigators drew up a roster of over 30 persons of interest. Michael's personal assistant, Maria James, who arrived at 6 p.m. the day before and left with a briefcase of documents. His part-time driver, Avis Grant, whose phone showed him in another parish at the time of the murder. Constituency volunteers who clashed with Michael over campaign finances. Even a local political activist who had been overheard threatening legal action against the MP. Each was interviewed, polygraphed when possible, and cross-checked against phone records and door lock logs. James produced CCTV footage from Michael's smart lock system, showing her last departure at 6:32 p.m., her hands free of blood. Grant's phone tower data placed him at Antigua University until after 10 p.m., offering him a rock-solid alibi. Pressure built as media outlets asked why, with so many leads, no arrests had been made. It was at this juncture, 6 weeks into the probe, that digital forensics offered the breakthrough. Crime scene analysts found two unanswered calls on Michael's work phone at 7:14 a.m. and 7:47 a.m. on November 5th. Tracing the caller ID led to a prepaid burner SIM card activated 2 weeks earlier. RCOps secured a court order to obtain metadata from local cell towers, which indicated the card signal pinged first in St. John's Port and later near Golden Grove. Investigators served preservation notices on telecoms, freezing records tied to high-use numbers in the Golden Grove cell sector. Simultaneously, the Fingerprint Bureau enhanced a partial print lifted from a smudged coffee table edge, an elevation that revealed the unique swirls of a palm print. Cross-checking national records produced no match among public service employees, narrowing the suspect pool outside Michael's known circle. Most telling was when analysts subpoenaed retail CCTV from a Golden Grove convenience store. On October 28th, 17 days before Michael's death, a man wearing the same cap and overalls as described by neighbors appeared on camera buying a SIM matching the one in question. On November 7th, detectives brought that man, 26-year-old landscaper Alexta Francis, for questioning. In the windowless interview room, under the unsparing glare of fluorescent lights, Francis first denied any link to the murder. He claimed the SIM was for family calls back home and insisted he'd never met Michael. But when investigators played the convenience store footage and showed him the burnt orange lines of his own palm print grafted onto a crime scene marker, his shoulders slumped. He broke down and wrote a confession. I went to collect money he owed me for landscaping work. He refused to pay and laughed at me. I lost control.
Police in Antigua and Barbuda have charged a 26-year-old man with the murder of parliamentarian Asot Michael. Alexta Francis is due to appear in court in Antigua on Monday. A police statement disclosing the arrest did not give any details. There were local media reports that Francis had confessed to the killing and provided lawmen with evidence of his crime. Speaking on the weekly radio show, the Prime Minister, Gaston Brown, commended law enforcement for the quick arrest.
Within hours, officers executed a search warrant at Francis's shared apartment. Tucked under his mattress was Michael's corporate credit card. Behind a stack of newspapers lay a blood-stained shirt matching spatters in the MP's living room. In the kitchen trash, officers recovered shards of a stainless steel knife blade with identical serration marks to those of the murder weapon. Financial records later showed Michael had authorized payments to Francis's landscaping business in small installments, but never the 2,000 Eastern Caribbean dollars Francis claimed he was owed. When news of the arrest broke, the island divided in stunned debate. Francis's mother, Maria, wept on camera. My son is no murderer. He's been struggling to pay rent. He was humiliated and something snapped. I don't know why. Former clients described him as reliable, but often delayed for cash. Some recalled him fuming after Michael's staff offered excuses rather than coins. Prosecutor Nadine Henry described the motive succinctly in court filings: financial grievance, opportunity, and betrayal. The defendant confronted the victim, a struggle ensued, and the defendant stabbed him with lethal intent. Francis's first court appearance came on November 14th before acting Chief Magistrate Dexter Wason. Normally slated for 9 a.m., the hearing began at dawn to accommodate extensive security and press. In the packed courtroom, Prosecutor Henry walked jurors through the evidence: CCTV, confession, palm print, and knife fragments, while defense counsel Leon Simister asked for the confession to be excluded, arguing Francis was in emotional distress and the print match was insufficiently conclusive. Magistrate Wason reserved ruling on disclosure, but remanded Francis to maximum security custody, given the gravity of the charge, and reported death threats against him and his family. As spring approached, the committal hearing was set for May 29, 2025. In jury selection, four persons whispered anxieties. In a small nation, none were strangers to local families. Judges instructed strict avoidance of media coverage. Prospective juror Emma Clark said quietly, I've met both families, but I'll judge only what I hear here. Through it all, Michael's widow, Annette, emerged as a quiet pillar. At an Easter vigil, she released a statement. My grief is boundless, but I believe in our justice system. I pray for my husband's soul and for all to remember kindness over division. The community rallied behind fundraising for Michael's orphan scholarship program, ensuring his charitable legacies endured amid sorrow. In the legislature, security reforms followed swift debate: coded electronic locks for MPs' homes, voluntary panic alarm wristbands, and new funding for protective details. Prime Minister Brown announced 500,000 Eastern Caribbean dollars to train a specialized protective unit for elected officials, stating, no public servant should fear for their life at home. While the trial preparation continues, Antigua and Barbuda has witnessed the slow turn of justice. An MP felled in his own front room, a diligent investigation that braved false leads, a detective's dogged pursuit of a palm print, and a suspect's confession under the weight of incontrovertible evidence. Alexta Francis now awaits a full high court trial, where prosecutors will present Dr. Walker's autopsy, the confession, forensic analysis, and neighbor testimony. The defense will contest voluntariness and seek to temper punishment with mitigating factors: youth, remorse, and financial desperation. Asot Michael's loss leaves a void in St. Peter's and across the islands. His murder underscores the fragility of trust and the peril of grudges left unaddressed. Yet it also affirms that in a small nation, forensic detail, community cooperation, and resolute policing can bring dark deeds to light and offer a measure of closure to a mourning people. If this account moved you, please share your thoughts below. Do you feel justice will be served? How should public figures safeguard their homes and livelihoods? Like, share, and subscribe for more Caribbean Files investigations, where every story, every detail, and every voice matters.